Members, I think you still have information in your packets. If not, I think it's going to be online right in front of us, and also in the budget books. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, my name is John Stein. I'm the Commissioner of the Pollution Control Agency. Joining me at the table is Greta Gauthier, our Legislative Director, and Joshua Bunker, our Chief Financial Officer. We were, I believe, on slide number 33, and that's the one I'm looking at, so I think we agree. Just for reference, we had just finished talking about construction demolition landfills yesterday when we moved on to our overall budget on our environmental assistance and cross-media program. Before I do that, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to report back to Senator Tomassoni, if I may, on the overall cost to municipal governments for our water quality standards. Based on our 2015 survey of water infrastructure needs, the range of infrastructure costs attributable to new water quality standards being met is between 3% and 7% of the municipal government needs based on the surveys that they complete and return to the Public Facilities Authority and to our agency. So, Senator Tomassoni, I wanted to follow up with you on that, and we'll come have a meeting to talk about exactly how we came up with those numbers and where they come from. So I just wanted to follow back. It's a fairly low percentage of the overall cost of infrastructure need related to the new water quality standards.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have one question to start out with Senator Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, I just had one quick question. Yesterday we talked a little bit about, I think it was Senator Ingebretson that brought up the use of the Clean Water Fund to clean up sites such as the demolition landfill and things like that. And you indicated that those funds weren't able to be used for cleaning up water there. It just seems like a perfect example of where we should be using that funding. Can you tell me a little bit why we can't use clean water funds to clean up that water coming off those sites?
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Johnson. We have to go back and look at the constitutional language that was written around the purpose of those funds. So I think we answered yesterday, we don't think that that's a possible use of the funds, but we need to verify that with the legal folks as well as just reviewing the legislation ourselves. The purpose of the Clean Water Fund was to add to the capacity of state government and the people of the state of Minnesota to address clean water needs. Part of the constitutional language has specific words in it about it can supplement but not supplant existing funding sources. There's always some debate going on about whether or not there's an existing investment in sort of cleaning up resources that should be utilized instead of the Clean Water Fund dollars. That's one area that we got to research, do a little bit more work on that. And then secondly, just the what the purpose of the funds may be limited to just directly during appropriation. So we'll look at that and give you a more detailed and specific answer.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Follow up? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner, on that same topic, you know, the Constitution is something that I think is pretty clear how I feel that we have to protect it and make sure it's not used. I mean, we've had many different groups come at front door, side door, back door for those kind of dollars, and I for one am certainly feel that it needs to be protected. But is this not a new initiative? I mean, when you say you're researching it a little bit more, when you're looking at new initiatives, does it not qualify for the Restore, Protect, and Enhance?
Right.
I mean, I wish you would look at that a little bit closer, and I know the governor's initiative with the clean water spending. The general public thinks that some of this stuff should be used for that, and that's the sale we have to give when we get home. So,
thank you, Mr. Chair. It is it's entirely, and I don't mean to infer that we're not going to give it its fair consideration, because I think you're absolutely right. People, when they voted for the constitutional amendment, they were voting for investing in clean water resources. And it's not inappropriate to think that when you clean up groundwater in a new way or at new sites, that that's a clean water investment. We've had many years now of discussion of how the constitutional language should be interpreted, but I do want to give you a thorough answer to that question. So we'll do some more work on that and try to improve it. A countering view is that we've had long-standing programs to clean up groundwater at landfills and other sites that we need to respect that those are existing investments. So we'll give you a more thorough answer on that.
Yeah. Thank you. I know it's in a different bill too, and it's in the legacy bill, so it's not going to be in our purview. But moving forward, some consideration. There might be some possibilities that we can look at that. And Mr. Knopf, maybe you could give us a little idea too what your interpretation. You've been with this since its inception as well.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think what Mr. Stein's talking about is what you would define as supplement. I mean, the big thing is is that you don't want to have a situation where you've been using a certain source of money, and then you pull back that source of money to use clean water funds. I mean, that would be supplanting. But to supplement means to go beyond what you've been doing already, and it seems like the proposal they have is new money for a new purpose that, in my mind, would be supplementing what's already being done.
Commissioner, does that sound fair?
Well, I think yes. I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm a hydrologist and a soil scientist. Some people in the room might like to say I'm also a wrestler, not a hockey player. But the point of Mr. Knopf's interpretation may be valid. I would like to do the research with
Sure.
the folks that have reviewed that constitutional language repeatedly on the question of supplement or supplant. We are asking for an increase in funding, but we have also been spending funds at these sites, at construction, demolition, landfill sites in the past to investigate groundwater conditions. So there's been existing spending. The debate is over whether this would supplement or supplant existing funding sources. And I want to give you a fair answer on that.
Thank you. And I think the members understand a little bit now more about what we were talking about. So let's go ahead.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move on to our Environmental Assistance Cross-Media Program. In your budget books, this is page 56. The picture on this slide is from a company in St. Paul, which is located in Energy Park. Retrama is their name, their medical device and medical facility that got a governor's award for reducing solvents. And they were able to do that by working with our MNTAP program and some of our small business assistance programs. This is one of the examples in our environmental assistance and cross-media program where we put the best work that businesses can do to reduce pollution so that we don't have future problems. And this is an example of a company that worked to reduce pollution through technical assistance working with our agency. Also, the MNTAP program, which is part of the University of Minnesota, pairs up an intern for a season with a business owner to look at how they can improve their efficiencies, reduce their waste, reduce water use and consumption. Studies over many years of operating this Minnesota Technical Assistance Program has shown that $1 invested from MNTAP results in about $3 of savings to a business owner. So it's an example of how we put the dollars to work to reduce pollution and to help businesses improve their bottom line. Also in our environmental assistance cross-media program, I wanted to give you sort of the trend line here, and you can see that as a share of our budget has been changing. The bump that came in 16 and 17 there of new money was for SCORE grants. Those are county recycling and solid waste grants that the legislature appropriated. Those dollars were added to our budget, and they are put out the door for things like transfer stations, recycling centers, and other things that help local units of government around the state process waste more efficiently. That's where that change came from. We also see here sort of steady overall funding from the Environmental Fund. And these, then, when we go to the next slide, Mr. Chair, you'll see that the vast majority of the expenditures that we put these dollars to help us in our integrated solid waste management program, 68% of the dollars. Because of these issues, like I mentioned the other day on mercury and other contaminants, volatile organic compounds, they can impact air, land, and water. We use the environmental assistance and cross-media program to answer questions so that we're solving the problem once by working in a more integrated way. These dollars also assist us in doing technical analysis and financial assistance to local units of government, and to reduce and prevent pollution.
Commissioner, with regards to SCORE grants, when I get called from my folks out there, whether it be PERM or Pope Douglas, solid waste energy facilities, they say the SCORE grants are not being totally put back to where they belong. Is that valid at all, or what are they talking about here?
I'm going to ask Assistant Commissioner Kudelka to come up and answer that question. We hear that too, and I know that Kirk has answered that question repeatedly.
Hello, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Kirk Kudelka, Assistant Commissioner with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency.
Welcome.
Thank you. The question is regarding the solid waste management tax. 70% of the solid waste management tax goes into the environmental fund. An additional 30% of the solid waste management tax goes into the general fund. And so what counties and a number of other entities have been trying over the years is that 30% that goes to the general fund, have it redirected to solid waste activities so that that money goes back into counties or other types of projects to complete the work that's more closely resembles the tax.
So it's fair to say that they'd want to see more than 70% then going back to them. That's a fair assessment of that question then?
Mr. Chair and committee members, correct. They've introduced bills in the past that 30% would go toward SCORE grants or other solid waste activities.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I wanted to move on, and Ms. Gauthier is going to explain what our business-friendly data services proposal, request from our conversations with the governor. This is on page 10 in your budget binder, and I believe we have a handout on this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Greta Gauthier, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. So this is our third and final change item or budget request for the upcoming 18-19 biennium. And we have a fact sheet called Business Friendly Data Services in your materials. So Minnesotans expect and increasingly want to do their business online. That's no surprise in today's world. Our agency just completed an internal conversion of many outdated database systems. I think there were 19 various ones, converted them all into a single comprehensive database system that now offers us a platform on which we can put over 200 of our services online. So we've moved about 20 of our key services online already, but we would like to accelerate the rate at which we can put more services online. That's what Minnesotans expect and want.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
What percentage is online? You said what percentage?
Mr. Chairman, since we created the new platform called Tempo, 20 services are online. I don't know what
20
percent
services, I'm
that
sorry.
is of overall services.
Okay.
It's about
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, our business customers especially want to have both services and our data online. A lot of businesses have to use our data in order to complete their applications for various permits or various things they want to do. So this proposal would really accelerate the rate at which we get our services and our data online, and it's for $800,000 over the biennium. If you look on the back of the handout that I gave you, you'll see our plan for which permits we're going to be putting online first and so forth. We're doing this by groups of permits. So at the top of that back page, you can see that for, one of our top priorities is our water permits for non-metallic mining operations, construction, new site construction forms, so forth. 3 of our wastewater general permits, our industrial byproduct annual reporting form. So it would be both the permits that our customers need to get, plus the reports that they need to file and the data that they need to do both. We'd like to get all of that online so that they can operate more efficiently as a business or as a city, and we can operate more efficiently as an agency.
Ms. Gauthier, of course, these are prioritized, I would assume, by the agency as the number one.
Mr. Chairman, correct.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this initiative is something that is gotten positive feedback so far of the systems that we've converted to online reporting. We've worked with wastewater treatment operators so that they can report their monthly discharge information online. It's been very positively received. We got about we're actually envisioning that about 50% of our data requests, we get 433 average. This is our average number per month. Data processing requests from a variety of sources. We think about half of those will be reduced by investing these dollars. So we'll be down to a much more manageable and put our people to other priority work. I want to move on to Environmental Quality Board. I'm going to invite the Executive Director, Will Seufert, to join me at the table. The Environmental Quality Board is a separate organization and is housed within the Pollution Control Agency for budget administration purposes. Mr. Seufert can explain how we function in terms of our administrative support for the board, but the agency and the board are 2 separate entities.
Thank you, Commissioner Stein. Mr. Chairman, committee members, for the record, Will Seufert, Executive Director, Environmental Quality Board. Thank you for the opportunity to come before the committee again. I'm speaking to the change item in front of you entitled Environmental Quality Board Environmental Review Continuous Improvement. It's on page 19. Our 18-19 budget request is to continue our one-time funds for environmental review improvements and to add 1 FTE to this effort to provide training and outreach to local governments. Having an environmental review program that is efficient and effective and meets the needs of Minnesota businesses and citizens requires an ongoing investment. When I was in front of this committee 2 weeks ago, I highlighted some of the changes we've been implementing to collect better data, provide better customer service, and initiate changes to environmental review thresholds. This work has a direct positive impact on citizens and businesses by making the environmental review process more streamlined and user-friendly. This appropriation is necessary to continue this work, and will also allow us to strengthen the program with the addition of a local government training and assistance effort. The EQB is committed to maintaining an environmental review program that is responsive both to the needs of Minnesota communities and to our businesses. Our initiatives help project proposers navigate the requirements of environmental review in a timely fashion, while also allowing citizens to meaningfully engage in decision-making process for proposed development. This appropriation will further both of these goals. Thank you for your time.
Members, any questions? I'm not sure you're going to get by quite that easy.
Say, that's wonderful.
Go over the board process one more time. How they're put together, and is there any overlapping, or are they all appointed, and how they're appointed for the
Certainly,
committee
yeah.
members?
Mr. Chairman, the board is made up of 14 members. 9 of them are state agency heads that are named in statute, including Commissioner Stein. Our chair is Commissioner Dave Fredrickson from the Agriculture Department. And then 5 citizen members who serve in 4-year staggered terms, also appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate.
Anything else? I'm sorry, Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm reading the page, Mr. Seufert, about the 1 FTE in the proposal and the training to local governments. I have a 2-part question. One, about how many of those requests do you get a year from local government units? And 2, give me more details on the nuts and bolts of what that training usually is, what it's trying to accomplish.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Senator. What we're proposing is actually a new program, and it's based on feedback that we've gotten. We did a survey over the last calendar year of our local governments that submit environmental review documents to the EQB to publish, and asking them, what do they need? What can we do to help them with their jobs? And we're in constant interaction with all local governments and state agencies that are doing EAWs and EISs throughout the year. Oftentimes they have questions about whether and how a category might apply to them. They have questions about the process, and so we're providing support to them in that. And one of the things that came up in our survey was they would appreciate more training and assistance. So what we're envisioning with this proposal that's in front of you is having someone go on the road and do as much trainings as possible. Part of the challenge in environmental review is in a given year, there's somewhere between 60 and 100 EAWs submitted. As you can see here, they're typically distributed throughout the state. But when you do the math, that doesn't equate to a lot in one particular county every year. And so oftentimes there's turnover. Maybe a county sees a project, and then they don't need to do another EAW for 10 years. And so really this is to try to make sure that we are providing materials and assistance. We're being proactive so that when projects are brought forward, there's not a lot of back and forth in terms of just questions about how do we do this and what do we need to navigate the process.
Okay. No more questions? Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll move on to our final budget area, which is our administrative support. As I mentioned in my early slides, just the categories of our budget. This is also, just remind you, on page 62 of your budget binder. Administrative support within our agency is the things you would think of as sort of the business services of an organization, our legal, our human resources, financial management, communications, online services, and records management. We have really worked hard in continuously improving this area of our budget. It's one of the areas that we've done more than a good number of our continuous improvement projects because our customers are both internal and external, and we want to try to make the work as efficient as possible. We've got some work that we've highlighted in our continuous improvement efforts, but I won't spend time talking about that. I want to just show the trend in our work on this area of our budget in terms of the funding. This is the changes here are based on internal allocations of payments for administrative support for services and purchasing. Again, this is dollars that we prioritize within existing funding sources. It is important for us, and this is our staff here in this photo. As you see, we need to supply our employees with adequate safety equipment. We got to get them safely in and out of the field. We have a safety program that is very robust in terms of protecting our employees' health and safety throughout all of their work activities. Those are some of the things that help us in this ongoing area. And then lastly, I wanted to just have Ms. Gauthier now move on to our agency-wide cost increase, which is the operating adjustment. This is now on page 14 of your budget briefing book. And Ms. Gauthier, if you wouldn't mind to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. On page 14 in your budget binder for MPCA is our change item for operating adjustment. This includes, this maintains our existing services, no staff increase, 1% increase in total compensation costs. So this is for things such as employer-paid health care, pension, et cetera, compensation-related costs and other operating costs like rent and lease, fuel, utilities, IT, et cetera. Those costs grow every year, as you know, from the work that you do elsewhere, whether it's in a business or your home or whatever. And so this is a agency-wide operating adjustment change item that we are seeking this year.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, with that, I think we have completed the budget briefing for the agency, and I wanted to just mention that Ms. Gauthier has included some additional slides because of legislative reporting requirements that we have, and I'll ask her to just talk about those slides briefly, but we also will be here to answer additional questions that the committee might have.
Sure, Ms. Gauthier, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So members, at the Omnibus Environmental Budget Bill from 2015 included a short paragraph that required our agency and the Department of Agriculture to present our budget also by our administrative divisions. So we've just presented you the budget by our budget breakdown as it exists in our budget. This requires us to take those same numbers and compute them toward, if you think of our agency org chart, towards those divisions in our org chart. So we have 14 slides here that, if you would like me to, Mr. Chairman, I can go through them, but I could leave them to members' perusal. It is the same information you've just seen, but by division. So for our industrial division, and our municipal division, et cetera. And that is per requirement that was in statute.
Okay. Members, any preference? I guess Senator Her? Okay. Anybody else? Members? I think what we'll do is we'll just leave them with the members. If they have any questions, certainly we've got time to have you come back. Any other thoughts, members? Senator Her.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Stein and Ms. Gauthier. Great presentation. You know, a lot of information, a lot of budget to remember. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to do a little check. You know, I know that when I got into the Senate here like 4 years ago, I did ask, you know, did encourage the agency to improve on diversity in hiring, and I know it is in the governor's agenda to diversify every department. So you know, being that the pollution agency, it is geographically located in my district. So I just curious whether, you know, how far have you come on the hiring of diversity, and whether any Eastside members, you know, are part of that too.
Mr. Chair, Senator Her, thank you. When I started at the agency in 2011, I think we were right around 1% of our employee base were people of color or some kind of disability. We're about 3% now. So that's it's good improvement if you look at the rate, but it's really means we've gone from about 90 employees to close to 200 employees in diversity. We are making it a priority. As you said, the governor's got an executive order on the question. He's made very clear his goals that we are aiming to diversify. We recruit. Part of the challenge we have in our work is because 70% of our employees are scientists or engineers. It's sort of a long lead time in terms of developing the group of employees from diverse backgrounds into those skill sets. So we have started working with, in the last 3 summers, we've had internship programs, both one from, twice from St. Paul and one from Minneapolis, working with a employment service that works with high school students of color exclusively. And we have had about 30 students come through the agency to get work experience and learn about the agency. And we're hopeful that we can continue to do that to grow the interest in science and technology education. That's part of building that cadre of interest in our community of future employees. So I would say we're making progress, but we're far from representative of the people of the state of Minnesota, and I'm committed to working hard for that.
Thank you very much. Mainly,
Senator.
that's all I want to hear.
Thank you. Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Stein, I guess just a general question, and I've heard there's been some hubbub behind the table back here that you guys are thinking about changing your name. Is that true?
Mr. Chair, Senator, that is true. The agency was created in 1967. It was made up of several different organizations that were put together and then expanded to become an agency. And the agency name really came from the fact that there was a board, a citizen board that made decisions on the work of the staff of the agency. So when the board was in place in the early days, the board made every single decision, every permit, every enforcement action, every program budget, every detail of everything the agency did was directed by the citizen board. Over the years, the citizen board had changed in its constitution and its role in the agency. And then, as I said, in 2015, legislation passed that eliminated the citizen board. And so the agency title is more tied to the board, and the history of the board was around pollution control, and work at the agency has expanded over that same period of time to include recycling, waste reduction, technical assistance, financial support. We're really more like a department, and we operate like a department now with a commissioner and no citizen board guiding its decisions. So we think it's timely to be called a department, and we think the right name for our department is the Department of Environment.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Commissioner. One would take from that then that the
Yeah,
pollution's all taken care of in the state of Minnesota.
And that,
So, no thought of that as well?
I think, Mr. Chair, if you were to ask many of our clients, they'd say we're doing a great job of controlling pollution statewide. Yes,
Give me just a quick 1-minute overview from 1967, you said, when you
Yes.
started, to now. How many scientists did you start with? When did you start with them, scientists and engineers, and how many do you have now?
That's a really good question, Mr. Chair. I do not know the number that was in the agency at the beginning. I would assume it was relatively small. There was an existing board that was called the Water Pollution Control Board that existed during the 30s. It was established in the 30s to kind of standardize the review and approval of sewage treatment plant improvements statewide. And the board that became the Pollution Control Agency Board was a byproduct of that board. And so it put together, if you go back and read the statute that established our board, we had to have an organized labor representative on the citizen board. The reason for having an organized labor representative was because during the 30s and 40s, there were concern that construction contracts and rates for payments for workers were going to be disparate across the state. So they wanted to make sure there was a labor representative on our board. We also were required to have an agriculture representative on the board. And so there's a lot of legacy of those old boards that kind of came with the agency. I would expect the number of our employees was, in the dozens. We are now at 900 employees. 70% of those 900, plus or minus, are scientists, engineers, and chemists. And that's really because things have grown in terms of statutory responsibilities since 1967.
Yeah,
Senator
just a quick follow-up, I guess, and more of a comment than anything. I find it kind of funny that we're sitting here talking about you changing your name. I just don't think it carries the weight that it possibly does, especially when the name that you have currently describes what you do to a T. You're a pollution control, entity that is, whether it is or is not an agency. You all live in Minnesota. You're Minnesota Pollution Control. And then as I'm sitting here thinking, what's the cost of this? You said you have 900 employees. Do they all have ID cards? Do they all have vehicles, or portions of them have vehicles that says MPCA on the side? You have letterhead. You have probably all those things that all of a sudden for 900 employees sounds like a big ticket price. So I guess I'm concerned that it's really not that big of a deal, and we should stick with what works possibly at this point.
Commissioner, what's the cost? You and I had talked about that.
Mr. Chair, Senator Lang, is a fair question. We don't have PCA logos on any of our vehicles. They're all state of Minnesota vehicles. We don't print letterhead, so we have zero letterhead in our office. We print it on our printers. And our business cards are less and less relevant all the time because we all use these blessed things. So the cost is, to us, what we're estimating is zero. And the chair asked me how much we spent to evaluate do we hire a consultant? Did we do a study of this? And the answer is we didn't do that. It took me about 10 minutes sitting in my office thinking, everything we do is not encapsulated in the work in the title Pollution Control Agency, because we work on reducing environmental impacts and trying to provide benefits in the environment that are fair and equitable to all people. So it's more contemporary. When we studied this actually in early 2000s, something having the name environment in it was more well received by the citizens that were surveyed in the early 2000s. So we think that that's a fair name. We think it's more representative of the range of things we do. I agree, pollution control is straightforward. It's easy to understand, but it's not everything we do, and we think that going forward it's a more appropriate name for the agency to be the Department of Environment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Senator Matthews?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of questions, and one of them does follow up with that. And Commissioner, I really need to be blunt. I understand that I am new in this process, that I have a lot to learn, and I don't come at it of the anti-agency mindset necessarily, but this is actually the first I've heard of the rumor of the name change. And frankly, your department is not necessarily well received by a lot of my constituents. That's kind of my first thought of hearing of the name change, kind of a leopard changing its spots kind of situation. My district would much more care about what the actions and activities will be underneath it. There are people in my district, Mr. Chairman, and not from my ideological standpoint, there are cities and counties and local government leaders that differ from me ideologically, sometimes very severely. But they would say, I agree, and I commend the commissioner and the agency that we've made a lot of progress in controlling pollution in this state, but my hometown folks tell me there appears to be controlling a lot more than that. That's what I believe I've got a one-on-one meeting in my office with some in your agency coming up, and that's what I need to dig down in. Our state and our citizens overall overwhelmingly are favoring having a fair and just care for our environment. We take care of our communities, our cities, and our properties. A lot of local leaders, trying to think of how to say this, and maybe I won't go forward in saying everything on my mind. If the agency will work to do its job effectively and do it in a way that can value our citizens, not be stepping over our citizens, our cities, I can partner along, I can encourage and support the work that you're doing. When that crosses into hurting and damaging my local cities, then I have to give some pushback. I have to stand up for the people that have sent me here to, frankly, it's repeated a lot, rein in government agency activities when they start doing damage. So that's kind of my thought with that. If you want to respond to any of that, you can. I don't guess now that I've talked long enough, I don't know if there is a question in there. And then I will have a question on a follow-up on a separate topic in addition to that, too.
Senator, do you want to carry on that conversation when they come to your office, or do you want them to respond now, whichever?
I don't necessarily need a response.
Okay, do you have a follow-up?
I do,
Yeah,
yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the budget proposals that I've come across and read state that you have over nearly $7 million for legal support costs between the DNR budget and the PCA budget. and I would like to know why you haven't or can't or something use the state attorney general for those costs.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator. I look forward to the meeting in your office. That will be, I think, good to get some specific examples, and I look forward to that. On the question of the $6 to $7 million in legal costs, you're probably referring to the expenditure that we worked with the DNR in anticipation of legal challenges on mining projects that we know are queued up for the evaluation of permits and permitting decisions that DNR and PCA have to make on projects like the North Met Polymet project in northeastern Minnesota. We did, and we do use the Attorney General to support the agency's work on litigation that comes from, that proceeds to court. This was one where we worked together at the agency and said there's a unique set of experiences and expertise that would be enormously helpful to provide outside counsel to the agencies to prepare the documentation so that the timeline can be as tight and efficient as possible in responding to any legal challenges. And so that was the decision that the agencies pursued and was supported previously by legislation and appropriations from the legislature in order to provide the most comprehensive legal service to the agencies for those projects. We also have, our agency has a separate legal services unit that do things that support our administrative work. When we deal with contaminated land sites and redevelopment requests, there's often a long legal search that's needed to evaluate the property ownership records and the business records of those property owners to make sure that we understand who's viably in existence from if they have a responsibility for past pollution. Under the statute for Superfund, that's one of the requirements we have. So things like that. But those legal services that we contract for on that one expenditure that you mentioned is because of the unique requirements that we'll have in order to stay on track with a timeline for decision making.
Senator Rood.
Thank you. Mr. Stein, I think we have had that conversation about the name change, and I think in that conversation you said that the rebranding of your department happens sometime this spring, summer. We have seen all of the departments have the rebranding. You've seen the DNR have the new logo. You've seen Explore Minnesota have the new logo, and MPCA will also have the new logo. So it really makes sense at this juncture, if we're going to think about the name change, to do it while we're doing it in conjunction with the new logo change for the state of Minnesota. Many of my colleagues were involved in getting rid of the Citizens Board, and whether people agree with that or not, it did change the dynamics of the agency from an agency to a department because there's no longer the Citizens Board. And so I think it's really timely that that we change the name and we make it, just like all of our businesses change their marketing and they change how they look and we upscale things and we look differently. I think it's time that we do that for the MPCA. And so I really do support what they're trying to do. And I hope you have that conversation and ask those questions. Thank you.
Senator Eichhorn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I get a couple comments and then a question. To Senator Rood and Senator Matthews' point, I'm not completely opposed to a name change, but I think we maybe need to be a little bit careful about it. My constituents feel the same way as Senator Matthews in that the MPCA isn't really well liked. They're seen as a roadblock to our mining and timber industries to a large degree. And if you'd ask a lot of my constituents, if you told them that there's going to be a Department of Environment, they would probably tell you, don't we already have a Department of Environment? Isn't that the DNR? I know that's maybe a little naive, but the common perception amongst the public might be that. So am I opposed to a name change? Not necessarily, but maybe we need to be a little more careful and maybe tweaking that a little to, because I think just saying environment doesn't do enough justice to what you guys do, because you do some good work and a lot of good work, and it's probably bigger than just saying environment. So just a consideration there. My question is in regards to the fees. Earlier in your presentation, you had talked about some of your fees and some possible fee increases, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but Can you just kind of touch on where those fee increases are and in what areas and what kind of increases you guys were looking at in the fees?
Yes, Mr. Chair and Senator, thank you, and thank you for the commentary on our name change. I know in my 38 years in state government, my job has been in regulatory work, and my job has never been a popularity contest. I guarantee you that. It's the only one who has a less popular job, because he sets the seasons on all wildlife and everyone sets the season on him, is the commissioner of DNR. So while I'm not that openly fought with, I do have my share of, I'm perfectly aware of the concerns people have. Regarding our fee increases, the only thing in the budget that you are probably referring to was the automatic adjustment of our air fees. That is, those fees are set in statute, or the statutory policy is that the program has to recover its costs. And so that's the one thing that was in the budget. Everything else that we do with fees are not in the budget. We are proposing to pursue, under existing law and rule, an adjustment of our water quality fees. And so I don't want to mislead members. That's going to be something we're going to develop over the next 18 months to propose a fee adjustment in our water fees. The fees for our water program currently cover about 7% of our operating cost. And so they're they haven't been adjusted in nearly 20 years. It's time to look at how to comprehensively and fairly do that for the people who need those services.
Members, if you don't have any other questions, we have about 1 minute left. Could we possibly talk about, real quickly, the lawsuit that just came down for Volkswagen? Can you just comment on that real quickly?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Volkswagen is a settlement of federal litigation where it takes in the issue of the Volkswagen company's effort to mislead the government in its air quality emissions. I'm going to have Assistant Commissioner Thornton, David Thornton is here, and he can, if he is still here? He is still here. He can give you a quicker synopsis than I will.
Sure. Just a 30,000-foot level overview. Thank you so much.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, committee members, Volkswagen.
Just identify yourself again,
Oh,
please.
sorry. David Thornton, I'm Assistant Commissioner at the Pollution Control Agency. Volkswagen's diesel vehicles, 2-liter and 3-liter vehicles, were programmed so that they would cheat on their emissions when they were being tested. And they were discovered, and the state of California and EPA brought a lawsuit against them. Volkswagen settled with those two institutions. We were not directly involved in that. And they will be paying in a mitigation portion of this about $15 billion. $10 billion of that is to go to the owners of those vehicles to buy the vehicles back or repair them. About $2 billion of that is to go to a zero-emission vehicle infrastructure that Volkswagen will be responsible for deploying across the United States. And the rest of the money is going to be available to states and tribes for mitigating the pollution that was caused by Volkswagen's actions. The amount that will be available to the state of Minnesota is $47 million. It's private money that is going to be held in trust that will be controlled by the court via a trustee, and the governor will have to apply to the trustee and to that trust for our portion of the money. The trustee will be responsible for approving all of use of the money, and there are like 10 different things that the money can be used for that are almost all related to reducing emissions of diesel engines that are located in the state, such as locomotives or riverboat tugs, heavy-duty trucks on the road, that sort of thing.
So it's very descriptive.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, members, any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much for Commissioner and for the for the overview as well as taking the tough questions and the comments. So I'm sure they're going to follow up with our members, so.
I will certainly do so,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. Thank you for your
Stand
time.
adjourned.